My voice, I don't recognize the lies it tells. When I'm with you, I become someone else. But I'm not broken, I'm just bruised, and I am tired, but I'm not through with saving myself. But my voice, I don't recognize the lies it tells. Do I admit that this is broken when I'm walking by myself in circles in the rain? Or when I start telling lies, 'cause the truth is too much to explain. And 14 months is long enough to carry this weight. But I come back to you, 'cause you're my familiar place. And I'm not one to talk about unfair, but I have walked through hell to see if you were there. You're the bullet in a gun, and I'm surprised that I'm not done wondering if you care. And I'm not one to talk about unfair. Do I admit that this is broken when I'm walking by myself in circles in the rain? Or when I start telling lies, 'cause the truth is too much to explain. And 14 months is long enough to carry this weight. But I come back to you, 'cause you're my familiar place. I said my thank yous, 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 no more thank yous. I said my thank yous, I said my thank yous, I said my thank yous, and now I'm saying goodbye. Do I admit that this is broken when I'm walking by myself in circles in the rain? Or when I start telling lies, 'cause the truth is too much to explain. And 14 months is long enough to carry this weight. But I come back to you, 'cause you're my familiar place.
Hi, welcome to Ham Jams. You were just listening to the amazing Eva Westphal, and that song was called Familiar Place. She's got a new EP out, and we are so excited to have her on today's show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
So this is the second time you've been on Ham Jams.
Yeah, I know. Actually, like probably a year ago is when I was last here,
Yeah.
which is nice.
And that show, and I'm so glad, and it's really an honor to have you back, but that show was an award-winning show. So
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, yay. That makes me
know.
so happy.
Yeah, it was for the local artist in you, and you just really killed that show and did such an amazing job.
Thank you.
So we're going to do it again.
Yes. Okay.
All right. And a lot has happened over the course of the year.
Yeah. So my EP's out. And
tell us what brought you to being able to create that and execute that and launch it.
Yeah, so I had always wanted to put out like an EP. And usually an EP is like 5 songs. So I actually got in contact with the producer. He's wonderful. And he's actually produced Josh Groban's stuff. And he's out in like Europe right now with Josh. But basically he helped me narrow it down to like 10 songs that we were gonna really review and see which ones were gonna make the cut for the actual EP. We finally narrowed it down to 5. And then it was kind of a process. But I just really wanted to get like the best version of myself and my music out there. So yeah, that's kind of what the 5 songs are. They're all kind of different. The main theme is pop, but there's some like more acoustic stuff in there. I've been listening to more folk, so there's like a little hint of that as well. There's one more jazzy inspired piece. Yeah, and then the end is mostly pop and just kind of like heavy hitting like drums and things like that.
Okay, so I want to know how you make the choices, because it sounds like it's almost like a resume of all your styles and all your transitions since you started.
Yeah, so I mean, I chose Bright Eyes, which I performed last year on this show.
Yeah, bright eyes. Hey there, bright eyes. You're not a story, you are alive. You're not a story, you are alive.
And the reason I chose that one, I wanted to make it more pop, and Rich agreed. He did a really cool production on it. It kind of sounds a little bit like Ed Sheeran, like in terms of the production and the instrumental behind the song. It's like light drums, but then like a lot of percussive like instruments. And I kind of wanted to put my like best foot forward in terms of acoustic pop there and kind of stay true to like what I've been doing the past 2 years. And I thought it was a good opener. And then the next song is more acoustic, but it's like jazzy inspired, like Amy Winehouse type. I wrote it like 3 years ago. But I also wanted that one because I think it's catchy and the songwriting's good, and I think it was just like a good second song on there. The last 3 songs I wanted to represent more of like the past 6 months in terms of like where I want my music to go in the future. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and definitely, you know, Familiar Place on the album is produced with like kind of like heavy drums and like almost like hollow sounding drums, which I think is really cool. It's kind of like, I compare it to like Imagine Dragons, like an old album of theirs, not the new stuff. And Tattooed is like kind of mainstream pop, a little bit more raunchy.
Yeah.
And Clean goes back to acoustic. It's almost a little bit country, some people have said, and like very light percussion. But yeah, I just wanted to put my best foot forward.
Yeah. So tell us about the production piece of it, because when you say produced, does that mean somebody is encouraging you to add different, what is your level of controlment and, controlment? That's a real word. How much input do you have into the creation of that?
I had a lot of input, but it's kind of because I like put myself in those shoes. Rich is super, super talented. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he has a lot of ideas and direction. So for the songs that were more produced, I'd say like it was like 80% him with the ideas on like the background and production, after I told him obviously like what vibe I was going for. And then he would show me kind of like the bare, like just kind of like the skeleton of the production that he envisioned. And I would say, oh, I don't like that, or I love that, let's do more of that. So that was kind of what I was doing, but obviously it takes someone with a lot of expertise to compose the background instrumentals, so he was definitely like the mastermind behind that.
What a great opportunity to work with somebody that has worked with so many elite stars in the business and be able to learn from that.
Totally, yeah. He is such a great mentor, and he was so open to sharing his own knowledge and like experience and connections too. I mean, he's just overall a really good person. And I really enjoyed working with him. So
yeah, well, he's very lucky that he gets a chance to work with you. So it's true. So you are just graduated from high school.
Yeah, I know.
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
What's next? You have some exciting things coming up.
Yeah, so I'm going on a gap year. And I am moving abroad. I'm going to Spain from mid-September to mid-December. So I'm working to save up for that.
Yes.
And I come back for Christmas. And then the second half of the year is going to be dedicated to my music. It's either going to be abroad again or it's going to be in New York working for a publishing company and helping out with their songwriting and just kind of being there and gaining experience.
Yeah, so you are on a trajectory to being in music and producing music.
Definitely, yeah.
But you're not majoring in music.
No, so actually I remember being here last year and it's kind of crazy how much can change in a year, because I remember I said that I wanted to double major or I wanted to go to music school. At this point, I think I made the right decision for me in going to New York for college. Columbia is great, and I'm really excited to probably major in something business related.
Yes.
I'm really happy because it's in New York and they have a lot of connections, and I'll be able to gain knowledge from like actual people in the industry around me. And I loved Berkeley for the 5 weeks I was there. I don't know if I could do music school 4 years. I think that this is the right choice for me in having that balance, because I, especially after college, I want to also be on the business side of things, because a career can't last forever. Like in terms of a performing career. So I definitely want to be like well-rounded and know what I'm doing.
Yeah. I mean, it sets the foundation for any future that you would want as a business major.
Yeah.
And I believe that it would help you with any contracts and understanding what other businesses, whether they're production businesses or any business would be approaching you as an employee or as an artist.
Yeah, exactly.
Knowing that it's just going to be so beneficial for you.
I know. I want to be able to be like responsible for myself and like know what I'm doing. So
that's right. That's right. Good. Well, thank you again for being here. But everybody should stay tuned, because coming up we are going to hear "Tattooed" by Eva Westphal. Stay tuned.
I set myself free, and who would have thought that I ended up letting you go? I had a dream that after you left, my body felt like a home, and you said, don't you dare, don't you dare, don't you dare forget me. And I said, darling, don't you dare act like you own me. I'll get your shape tattooed. I'll give you an inch of body and a little bit of my mind. I'll get your shape tattooed. 'Cause your pain made me stronger and your cruel taught me kind. I promise you that one day you won't even think you're worth my time. I'll give you an inch of my body, you don't get my life. They say the dawn comes after your darkest. I'm starting to think that they're right. I let go of your games and your moving target. It's time to get on with my life. And you said, don't you dare, don't you dare, don't you dare forget me. And I said, darling, don't you dare act like you own me. I'll get your shape tattooed. I'll give you an inch of body and a little bit of my mind. I'll get your shape tattooed. 'Cause your pain made me stronger and your cruel taught me kind. I promise you that one day you won't even think you're worth my time. I'll give you an inch of my body, turning back time, passing me by, living my life in my head. I am tired of all of the times you made me lie by making me smile and pretend reconciled. Building myself up from the ground, making me proud in the end. And in the end, you were my friend, but I need me again. I'll get your shape tattooed. I'll give you an inch of my body and a little bit of my mind. I'll get your shape tattooed. 'Cause your pain made me stronger and your cruel taught me kind. I promise you that one day you won't even think you're worth my time. I'll give you an inch of my body, you don't get my life.
Hi, welcome back to Ham Jams. I'm Jen Maseda, your host, and you just heard the beautiful track by Eva Westphal called Tattooed. And Ava's with us today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
It's such a pleasure to see you again. So this is the second time you've been on Ham Jams.
Yeah.
And that's really rare. We don't typically have guests back unless they are doing something amazing, which you are. And you've got your new tracks coming out.
Yeah.
And we've heard a couple of them so far, so thank you for sharing those.
Yeah.
One thing that you mentioned in our last segment was that you are working to pay your way during your gap year of going to Spain.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what you're doing to make that possible.
Yeah, so basically I'm working at Starbucks. I have some other summer jobs too, like I'm doing an internship, I'm working as a camp counselor, I'm doing some babysitting just like kind of down south in Massachusetts where we spend the summers usually. But yeah, I mean, I need to have money when I go to Spain, and I need to find out ways to, I mean, I'm getting paid once I get to Spain too. Like I'm working a job over there, but it's not a bad idea to already have like a foundation. So.
Yeah, and I think that's great that it's your dream. So putting yourself towards, earning for that is a critical step in understanding the value of that progression. So
yeah,
that's great. You're also doing a lot this summer in terms of music too.
Yeah.
So where can people hear you?
Yeah, so actually I'm really excited to be here. I'm also going to be doing radio things like around Boston. I have so much appreciation for like Boston radio, Boston TV. I just love how like local artists can feel supported. So yeah, I was just mentioned like some parts of my songs were played during the Kiss Countdown this past weekend, which was really cool to hear. And I'll be on Mix 104.1 and Country 102.5 pretty soon. So if you just follow my Instagram, things will be up there. And I'm planning, thanks to your advice, I'd love to do kind of a smaller, intimate show just of my album things. I just recently performed 2 days ago at a gala for a nonprofit, and that was really fun. But yeah, just like kind of hopping around, doing different types of publicity things, and you'll know what I'm doing based on my Instagram. So if you follow me there, you'll know.
Yeah, and I think getting together with some supporters that are willing to buy a ticket to come in and hear you perform, but also maybe we can do an interview where people can ask questions and learn a little bit more about you, because you're such an amazing person in your philanthropic work as well as the creation of your music. You're such a talented artist. So
thank you.
So what, after this gap year, you're going to be in college, and then what do you think is something that you really want to share with our audience about the transition from one thing after another? Did you make a full plan and you're following that plan?
I feel like I make a lot of plans, and then they always inevitably change. So yeah, the plan right now is gap year and then going to college in New York City. But it's kind of open for any changes. So if anything changes in the gap year, obviously I'll abide by that. Anything music related definitely has the ability to change my plans. But yeah, right now it's college, and then hopefully I'll be doing songwriting and performing all throughout college. And then after I graduate, I'd love to continue that or kind of go more into the business side of things.
Is that a typical trajectory of people in the music business?
There's some really inspiring role models that I have that are songwriters first and singers second, and they tend to be very smart about their money and like kind of like having a long career rather than kind of a short blip. So I'm really interested in kind of like staying in the music industry, and if that means songwriting much more than it means performing, then that's totally fine by me, as long as I do get some performing experience. But I'm happy to songwrite, and I'm happy to support other artists, anything that lets me stay in it.
Yeah, is it typical for people to do that, be more of the business side of it? I consider songwriting as being a business.
Yeah.
You're selling a product to a different artist.
I think that there's a ton of songwriters, obviously, and so yeah, that is, I mean, it's not a typical job, but yeah, so people do make full careers out of being a songwriter and writing top like hits and everything like that. I don't know if it's as common for artists to also like have a longer standing plan. So like if you're a performer, I think it also probably has to do with like educational background, because obviously if you aren't as aware of like the business side of things, then you're going to be less likely to be able to manage your own business or be an employee of a record company and things like that. So switching between the two is kind of rare, but it's something that I want to do, and I think that if I go to college, if I get that degree, if I commit myself to learning, then it's definitely something that I could do.
How do you sell your music or offer your music to other artists?
Well, usually it's through a distributor or through a producer. So basically Rich, the producer who worked with me on my EP, he has written songs for really well-established artists, and it's just kind of a who you know thing. So like if you're well connected, then you can definitely get your songs in with the right people. But yeah, I don't know. It's basically just having a lot of experience, a lot of songs, and building up your resume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, that is what's going to make you a superstar, is your performance. And what are some of the characteristics that you think people need, and especially young women? What are the characteristics that they need in order to be successful within this particular industry?
I think it definitely depends on like what you're doing. Like if you're a performer, then you need to have a brand, and I think that definitely like as a young woman, it can definitely be hard, because I know a lot of artists that are probably unsure of themselves. Like if you're 17, 18, you don't know who you are at all, and like everyone else is deciding for you what your brand is. So in that case, like your own characteristics might not even matter as much, because it's a team deciding on what you're going to be. In terms of like actually being a woman in the music industry, it's very male-centered. So like most executives, most record companies are just filled to the top with men. And I think it's starting to change slowly, especially with like music majors coming out of Berkeley, for example, women in music production and things like that. But I think it's probably hard. You kind of have to have a tough skin, because you might be the only woman in a room, which can be kind of daunting at times. So
yeah. And how do you grow that thick skin that allows you to? Because you're relatively young in this music, although you've been doing it, I mean, since you were little, playing and performing.
Yeah.
But when you walk into that production room and you're the only woman in the room.
Yeah. Well, I think it also, for me personally, because I'm not like Katy Perry, like I'm not a superstar. So
I think you're a superstar, Eva.
Thank you. But it's not the same thing. I mean, everyone who's worked with me I know really well. Rich, for example, I really trust him. I know his family, like I know his kids, I know his wife, like I don't feel unsafe. And I think that a lot of times, like you really have to be careful. for me, honestly, like my mom used to come with me to everything, which was helpful. But yeah, I mean, it was me and then Rich and then the person who was doing all like the studio technician things. And he was also a guy, so it's kind of like understanding your role in the situation, understanding like your safety and being clear in what you trust, and really like being around like valued people who you know like won't do anything that exploits you or like misrepresents you as an artist.
Let's talk about that exploitation.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a very timely
Yeah.
subject.
Yeah.
So when you were talking a bit about somebody maybe developing their brand but
Yeah.
losing that sense of authenticity.
Yeah.
So how does a young person who is trying to figure out who they are and why, why they're doing this and what type of artist they're going to be, how do they do it without completely, just losing themselves?
I mean, to be honest, like the big stars that you see, like that are 18, if you look far back enough in their like social media life and who their team is, you'll find that they are branded by like a large group of adults who have decided what this 18-year-old girl's vibe is going to be. So, I mean, I think it's part of the reason why I haven't really, right now at this point, I'm more interested in like finding out more about my own music and continuing to write songs and to engage with people and to really be like more one-on-one with people who listen to my music. I'd much rather have that than have a team deciding who I'm gonna be, which obviously is the easier option. And at that point, you're more of like a product, which you have to consent to, obviously, and it has to be something you want. But yeah, I think it is a lot harder. I don't know of many like 18-year-old girls. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, and the like stars that I'm thinking of, or like rising stars. I know who's on their team, and I know that they're being not controlled,
marketed.
but they're being marketed in
Promoted
a certain way.
in a certain way.
So yeah, if you're like at that tier, I think that there is a certain level of independence that you have to give up.
On all these music shows that we see, they talk a lot about who you are as an artist as being such a criticality to an individual's success.
Yeah.
But are they actually looking at them as a product because you went through the process on The Voice?
Yeah.
What is it that they are really looking for? Is it easier to mold someone who already has stepped into a particular brand themselves?
Yeah, so I always think of, so first of all, I just want to say like the music shows, like those probably aren't the best representation of like what actually creates success, because I think first of all, like people, just because you win a season of one of those singing shows doesn't necessarily mean you'll actually be successful in terms of like actually rising to the top or having like top 100.
That's great that you say that, because I think there's millions and millions of people that are going for that particular show.
Yeah.
And out of, let's just talk about American Idol.
Yeah.
Out of American Idol, there's only less than a handful that have really been superstars.
Yeah.
Like sustained superstars over time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, I know in France it's different. Like their whole music show, like everyone who comes out of it becomes a huge star. But at least in the US, that's not the case. So I just kind of like disclaimer that might not be like necessarily the biggest representation. But I do think that like, I'm going to use Grace Vanderwaal as an example. She was the little girl who sang at America's Got Talent, super, super talented. And she has a very specific personality and brand, and it seems so genuine. And it seems like she has really good people on her team. Obviously, that's an outsider's perspective, but like I've just kind of been observing like her career and her trajectory and her songs, and she's staying very true to the first kind of little girl you saw walk on stage and like blow people away. And I think that's really special, and there's definitely people like that, but it's rare as young people. I think that there's a lot of older artists where I say like, yeah, I feel like they're really in control of their own brand. Like I think of Brandi Carlile, like she's a huge inspiration for me. Sia, like not necessarily like 20-year-old girls, but like women who are like professional working women, sustained careers, like know who they are, know their music, and know their base.
Yeah. Those that you mentioned are artists that have sustained over time.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, like Brandi Carlile has Grammys, and like Sia has written so many songs for people, and they know who they are, and I really admire those two. Yeah, for sure.
Do you think that they had to do that, to write things for other people, to then understand when their time was to come out and be as, because to me, is sort of a recent pop superstar, but she's been
writing forever,
for everybody.
Yeah,
when you hear all of the tracks that she's written.
Yeah, she's like she's super smart at writing pop music. I don't know though. I mean, I'm not in their shoes, so I have no idea. I don't know. I actually don't know Brandi Carlile's songwriting background. I don't know if she's written a ton of songs for other people. So I'm not sure, but it would be really interesting to find that out for sure.
Yeah. Well, anything else that you want to share with us? Because we're so grateful that you were here with us for a second time on our award-winning show because of you. So we're going to hear one more song. We're going to hear the song Clean.
Yeah.
But anything exciting that you want to share that people should really watch out for? Definitely follow your Instagram.
Yeah, follow my Instagram. You'll see everything on there. But basically, I just wanted to say thank you. And it's been really wonderful to have specific people reaching out about my songs and saying that they listen to them on repeat and things like that. That means so much to me. So yeah, just give it a listen if you have time, and I really appreciate your taking the time to talk to me.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to have you again. You're such a joy.
Thanks.
Thank you. Well, thanks everybody for watching. I'm Jen Maseda. Coming up next, you are going to hear Eva Westphal, our amazing singer-songwriter guest today, and she's going to be singing Clean. So stay with us, and thanks for watching Ham Jams.
Last year, this time I wasn't fully mine, but I had myself convinced that it would be harmless. When wrong feels right, you're thinking in black and white, and the things that were easy before now are the hardest. Well, just 'cause you're clean now don't mean you don't miss it sometimes. Sure, it was empty, but at least it was mine. The times I've gone back, it hasn't been worth it. I promise that I'm choosing life, but I miss it sometimes. I'll tell you what, I've gained courage and love of change, though it's not easy to let go of a pattern, and it will be hard at first, and then at second, and at third. I don't really know when it ends, but you're smiling again, and that's what matters. And just 'cause you're clean now don't mean you don't miss it sometimes. Sure, it was empty, but at least it was mine. The times I've gone back, it hasn't been worth it. I promise that I'm choosing life, but I miss it sometimes. Yeah, I miss it sometimes. And just 'cause you're clean now don't mean you don't miss it sometimes. Sure, it was empty, but at least promised it was mine. The times I've gone back, it hasn't been worth it. I promised that I'm choosing life, but I miss it sometimes.